Good evening. Welcome in to the final Boulevard post-game drink of the 2021 regular season. Missouri, a 34-17 loser to Arkansas in Fayetteville. First time the 180-pound Shelter Insurance Trophy is staying in the state of Arkansas since 2015. We will talk all about this one over the next 90 minutes. I want to give you guys a warning ahead of time. We're going to get to the calls pretty soon because there's a hard out on this show at 7:30. I've got to go cover Missouri basketball against Wichita State at 8, so the very latest this show can go is 7:30. I'll open up the phone lines in just a few minutes, and we will, get to your calls. Do want to make sure to call your attention to the logo down there in the bottom left hand of the screen. That is the Boulevard Brewing Company. They have all kinds of good stuff. Look, it's a long weekend. I hope you guys partook in some yesterday. Maybe some more today watching the game. Maybe some more over a long weekend. Mizzou basketball tonight. Plenty of college football tomorrow. NFL Sunday, all that. Boulevard has all kinds of products. Fit anything you need, whether it's the beer you like, the Quirk seltzers, the Fling cocktails. I actually found a new thing. I was driving yesterday and cutting down on my alcohol consumption. They have a new product. It's a non-alcoholic IPA called Flying Start. You guys should check that out for people who maybe don't need the alcohol but like the taste of beer. I'm telling you, if you pour it in a glass and you have it, you can't tell it's not just a regular beer. Had a couple of those yesterday, drove home, felt fine this morning. So all good. Check that out. Check out anything Boulevard does. After watching that game, you might need a little Boulevard. Let's start with the good. Tyler Beatty was simply phenomenal all season long. In 5 of Missouri's 12 games, he ran for 200 yards. In another one, he ran for 146. The end total was 268 carries for 1,604 yards, which is 26 more than Devin West had in the 1998 regular season. So that is a school record, 1,604 yards for Tyler Beatty, which he can add to in a bowl game if he plays. He also has had 14 rushing touchdowns, 18 total touchdowns, and as Aaron Murray said in the middle of this game, about the only coherent thing that was said on this broadcast, he's the whole team. And look, Missouri's defense got better, and I don't mean to totally disregard that. I think that statement is disregarding Harrison Mevis a little bit, but basically this team is Tyler Beatty on offense. When they have the ball, it is Tyler Beatty, and it is not anything else. And I know we are going to spend a lot of time talking about the quarterback. And I'm going to tell you, the quarterback, not good today. Not good at all. He threw for 65 yards. He was, let me look at the exact stats. We've got them here for you. Connor Bazelak on the day, 10 for 26, 65 yards, and an interception. Look, that's terrible. Any way you slice it, it's terrible. But also, who gets open on this team? He had one guy catch more than 2 passes. That was Kiki Chisholm, 3 for 37 yards. And again, like, some of that is on the quarterback, but there's almost never anybody open. Where are the playmakers on the outside on this team? Where's the offensive line? It was just beat to smithereens today by Arkansas. Amazingly, Arkansas didn't have a sack, but there were a lot of times they were getting pressure with 3 guys. Bazelak was taking huge hits. I do not mean to minimize the fact that Connor Bazelak played a terrible game at quarterback. I know we're going to talk about that. We're going to spend a lot of time on it, and I don't want to completely disregard it. But nobody else on offense is any good either right now besides Tyler Beatty. I mean, we're not seeing these dynamic receivers. Look, Mookie Cooper had 1 carry for 5 yards. Didn't have a catch. J.J. Hester didn't have a touch. Dominic Lovett didn't have a touch. The only guy who ever really seems to get open is Boo Smith, and he can't figure out a way to play more than 7 snaps a game. So Eli Drinkwitz has a huge offensive retooling to do this offseason. We will spend all kinds of time talking about that. I don't want to spend too much, breaking it down here because, like I said, I want to get to your guys' phone calls. Just take a look at the raw numbers. I mean, Arkansas averaged, I'm doing quick math here, 8 yards a play. Missouri averaged 5. And most of those came on rushing. I actually gave Missouri too much credit there. It's not 76 passing yards. It's 65. I mean, you can't win a Division I game with 65 passing yards. And look, somebody already knows the number before we actually officially open up the phone line, so let's just go ahead and do it. We'll go to the 314 area code. Who's on the line?
Hey, Gabe, Nitro here.
How you doing, man?
Like, what was he? I'm well, Gabe. How are you?
I'm good.
What was he doing? Like, why not at some point in the third quarter give a shot to Cook or Macon? Like, why not?
Yeah,
I'm asking you, like, why not?
It's a fair question, and he is going to be asked that. I'm sure his post-game press conference is going on about now. I promise he's going to be asked that. And completely fair question. Here is the only theory I can come up with. This is what you guys better – I don't know. What you better hope is that he somehow is being incredibly stubborn trying to fix Connor Bazelak. That's what you have to hope, because the alternative is he truly believes that's the best quarterback on his team. And if that's the case, you're in big, big trouble next year. Because, I mean, look, if I'm Brady Cook, I'm out. I'm just going to say that. I mean, if you can't play over that, then you leave. I don't see any reason not to.
I want to hate on what you just said. You make a really valid point. I cannot argue that at all. Like, so then you're saying to the rest of us Mizzou fans who are your diehard listeners, we are now putting our eggs in the same one basket. Is that what you're saying, though?
That's what it seems like to me. Because, look, Connor Bazelak. I
don't want to be there, Gabe. I don't want to be there.
I hear you. I'm not sure what choice there. I mean, unless – okay, there is a change. There's a possible solution there. If Tyler Macon makes a significant leap between now and the start of next season, then that can change. But, like, Connor Bazelak – that is a broken quarterback. Like, mentally, that is a kid that just, to me, looks like he has no confidence. And I don't think his coach really believes in him.
Today was really bad.
It was. And, it's not – I want to be clear. It is not all on Bazelak. But we know what quarterback is, and he was bad today. There's no hiding that. The third play of the game or whatever is a pass that – like, you just have to hit Boo Smith for that pass. That has to be a touchdown if you're going to go win a game where you're a 2-touchdown underdog. And it did.
That was one of many. That was one of many that he missed. There were several.
And then the other thing is, how many times, other than that play by Boo Smith, how many times were there actually guys open, like we saw Treylon Burks just destroying a Missouri defensive back, so that literally all KJ Jefferson has to do is get it close to him? The quarterback is an issue. The receivers are also an issue. The tight ends are an issue, and I think the line's an issue.
I was defeated on the first drive when he missed two guys. Now, granted, one was a questionable, whatever. But he missed two wide open guys running deep on the first drive. And when that happened, I thought, man, if Drinks plays today is to run it deep and take some shots downfield, I'll take that risk with this team. No questions asked. You might lose, but at least you went down swinging. And after that, the first drive, I don't think he threw the ball down the field more than maybe once, maybe.
Yeah, and to be fair, I thought the first one was a really good throw to Dominic Lovett, and I thought Lovett gave up on the route a little bit. He also got interfered with, so it could have been that. I thought the first one was a really good throw. The second one was brutal, and you can't overcome that, obviously. I mean, they're a very flawed team, and when you get something like that, it has to work, and it didn't work. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, it's going to be a really interesting and difficult offseason in spring football, because right now, your hope is a quarterback that looks like he can't get fixed gets fixed, or a true freshman who I saw unable to complete 3-yard passes becomes a good starting quarterback, or a kid coming in from high school is your guy. I mean, those are the three options right now.
Yeah, I get it, man. Hey, listen, you're going to have a busy night, I'm sure. I am running around downtown Fayetteville, so I'm going to let you run. But good luck tonight. I think you're going to need it, and, I appreciate all the work you do. And I don't know. Let's hope for a good bowl game and a Sam Horn to be really, really, really awesome. MIC against it.
Sounds good, Nitro. Thanks, man. Let's stay in the 314 area code. Who's on the line?
This is Steven from St. Louis.
What's up, Steven? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I had a couple of points about tonight. I think this loss is kind of on Drinkwitz, not Wilkes.
Okay.
Thought the defense played well until they got tired. The question I had for you is, we talked about having an open quarterback competition next year.
Mm-hmm.
Having a month off, maybe do they start that sooner? Do they look at Brady Cook just to see for the bowl game? Because like you said, Sam Horn's coming in, and all season I've been hoping this kid is great, but then he's playing baseball. He's not coming in until the summer, so it's unrealistic to think this kid comes in and just blows everything away. So I'm afraid that if we have an open competition in the summer, it's going to be Bazelak again with the most experience and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, yes, if it's me, I would open up the competition for the bowl game. I would say I don't know who my starter is because that's how bad today was. But, literally Drinkwitz hasn't done it all year. He's made it pretty clear this is his guy. Now, Tyler Macon could technically play in a bowl game and have another year and all that. Or still have his red shirt. I mean, that would only be his fourth game, so he could play in another game. Cook's basically already used his red shirt. But, yes, I would open it up. Will Drinkwitz? I don't know. He hadn't done it all year. I don't know why he necessarily would do so now.
Awesome. The only other thing is I'm extremely frustrated with today's outcome, but couldn't be happier for Tyler Beatty.
Yeah.
I thought he played a hell of a game. He's had a hell of a season. I wish nothing but the best for that kid in his future. Thanks, Gabe.
Appreciate it, Steven. 100% on right on there, man. I mean, you gotta respect the hell out of Tyler Beatty, not just for today, but for this whole season. Let's come back to the 573 area code. Who am I talking to?
Yeah, Gabe, this is Jeremy. Nice to talk to you.
What's up, Jeremy? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I got 4 points. I'm going to try and keep them as coherent as possible. But first off, I think you already hit on it. But hats off to Tyler Beatty.
Mm-hmm.
And also the defense over the last couple games for their improvement. You got to acknowledge the trajectory. I think we changed that. I talked about that in a call earlier in the season. So start to positive. Now we got to go to some of the ugly. I played sports a long time, my whole life, and you learn the team takes on the persona of the head coach. And today it was like Drinkwitz jumped in a really cold swimming pool, and the team kind of followed suit, if you know what I mean. There just wasn't a whole lot of throw it out there and let's see what happens. So that was kind of frustrating. Something you've said all season long is the primary job of the quarterback is to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And this goes back to, are they going to run or are they not going to run? And I kind of agree, but also I think the quarterback is responsible for making the defense account for them. And right now, Connor Bazelak does not do that.
Yes.
So, hopefully there's a whole lot of Sam Horn to touchdown Luther next year.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. No, go ahead. You're good.
So my last point was the one coherent thing the announcing crew on CBS said today was 65 yards passing only really goes for a service academy. So being a Naval Academy graduate, I'm going to say go Navy, beat Army. Thanks, Gabe. Appreciate it.
All right, Jeremy, I appreciate the call, and I want to go kind of step by step there. Obviously, the Beatty stuff, 100% right. And I mean, seriously, guys, what if I would have told you even a month ago, even if we're sitting here, after the Vandy game, hey, at the end of this season, you're going to have a defense that is dragging this offense to the finish line. None of you would have believed me. You would have said I understood nothing about football. And yet that's where we are. The first 8 weeks of this season, they were 4-4 because the defense was historically awful and kept them from being 6-2. The last 4 weeks of this season, they were 2-2 only because the defense did enough to win them 2 games when the offense, frankly, did almost nothing for a month. I mean, and look, it is a concern, and it's a quarterback concern, but it's more than that. Your head coach is the offensive coordinator. Offense is his thing, and that offense was brutal for the last month of the year. Let's go back to the 573 area code. Who's there? You there with me?
Hey, Gabe, you there?
Yeah.
Hey, Gabe, it's Jason. How are you today?
Not bad. What's going on, Jason?
First off, Tyler Beatty, oh my gosh, what an amazing season.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, and ask your honest opinion, does Brady Cook transfer out after a game like this, and is Sam Horn just licking his chops going, I can definitely do better than that guy just did next year?
Hey, first of all, we don't try to push kids out, but yeah, if you're not paying attention if you don't think there's a pretty decent chance Brady Cook transfers out. I mean, the starting quarterback just went 10 for 26 for 65 yards, and the backup never got a chance until he came in to hand off to let Beatty break the record. So yeah, you absolutely have to think that is a strong possibility, if not a likelihood. And with Horn, yeah, I mean, he's coming in here trying to win the job next August. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure that wouldn't be the best thing for the future of this program. Now, I'm not saying for next year necessarily, but long term, it would be great if Sam Horn comes in here and is good enough to win the starting quarterback job next year. I think it would probably honestly be the best case scenario for the future of the program.
Yeah, it's just too frustrating because and I'm hoping maybe with a different quarterback we see more out of wide receivers because they just didn't do much this year.
Nothing.
And we saw some glimpses of some guys, but I just hope that the next season looks a lot better. Hopefully the quarterback play is better because I don't know what happened to Bazelak. I thought maybe he'd be a little better, but man, he was below average all year.
Yeah, I thought he was above average until the overtime interception at Boston College. And then I don't know what happened. It was like on that play, the whole thing flipped and it just went, it got worse every week. I mean, honestly, I think Drinkwitz did Bazelak a little bit of a disservice by not sitting him down because he just kept trotting him out there and the kid he didn't have it mentally or physically. And this fan base has turned so against Connor Bazelak, and I'm not sure it's all his fault. I mean, I'm not sure he didn't do his starting quarterback a little bit of a disservice by continuing to play him.
Yeah, but well, now we've got a bowl game to look forward to in spring football. So
Yep.
Thanks a lot, Gabe.
You got it, Jason. Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. And we do have the phone lines open, guys. We got the number up on the screen now. It's 573-234-4935. 573-234-4935. Give me a call. Again, I've got about an hour. Gonna have to cut it off at that point to go cover basketball. But if you want to get calls in, if you've got anything to say about this one other than, well, I mean, feel free to call in if what you have to say is, oh my God, the quarterback plays terrible and what's wrong with the offense. That's fine. We can talk about that more. But would love to have your calls and talk about it. I want to take a minute just for some perspective on Tyler Beatty. Again, 1,604 yards, which is a single-season Missouri record. He's somewhere just short of 2,000 yards from scrimmage, which is the most anyone in program history has ever had other than Jeremy Macklin. Or all-purpose yards, I'm sorry. Now, Macklin obviously has a lot of return yards in there. The yards from scrimmage is a school record, I believe, with about 1960, if memory serves. So I don't think anybody's ever had that many from scrimmage because so many of Macklin's were return yards. And let's go back to the phone line now, 573 area code. Who's there?
Hey, Gabe, it's Justin Ferguson. How you doing, man?
Not bad. What's up, Justin?
Hey, not too much. I think the one good thing, coming out of, even though, it's 6-6 season, the one good thing, is at least Wilkes has got the defense, I think, kind of turned around. Something to kind of look forward to going into the bowl game and going into next year, kind of building on that momentum. And then I think, for the bowl game, I think Drink's going to have – it's got to be open competition for the quarterback job.
Yeah.
For the bowl game. You got to start building for the future. And then also even at the running back position, because they're not going to have Tyler Beatty next year. They're going to have to figure something else out and get somebody else a run. He was just fantastic today. I love watching that kid play. It's going to suck seeing him leave, but it's they're going to have to figure out something at running back and quarterback kind of going forward, and then also a wide receiver.
So let's talk about quarterback. Let's say you open up the competition for the bowl game, right? And let's say you don't start Connor Bazelak. So we kind of agree there's a pretty good chance Brady Cook's leaving, right? So what if you say, okay, open competition for the bowl game, and you don't start Bazelak? What if he transfers? You're now going into next season, your entire quarterback room is Tyler Macon and Sam Horn. I mean, that's flat out scary. I don't know if you can do that.
No, but what I think is if you were to start Cook for the bowl game, let's just say you start Cook, right? Then the only thing you may be looking at is maybe Bazelak leaving, because if Cook starts, he's thinking, okay, if Bazelak transfers out, or if he starts, he's probably thinking, hey, I may got a shot in the spring to win this job. And I mean,
okay, and then for argument's sake, let's say in spring he doesn't win the job and then he transfers out. See, I think you get in a real dangerous spot real fast if you lose Bazelak.
Yeah, but I mean, what?
I mean,
having Bazelak right now, what has it really helped you with?
That's the flip side. You're talking about a guy that just threw for 65 yards. So.
Right, and now we've seen Bazelak be better, and I agree. I think it's a confidence thing with Bazelak. I think it's absolutely confidence with him right now. I don't think it's not something like I don't think he can't play. We've seen him do it. I think some of it's also that these SEC defensive coordinators have kind of figured out a little bit about Drink's offense.
Yeah,
and have played the coverages a lot better and have made it a lot harder. Which is why, though, I think for Drink, in order for him to be successful on offense, I think he's going to have a quarterback who can move.
Well, yeah.
I mean, KJ Jefferson's not special. He's not Peyton Manning back there.
No, but he made a few plays today that were pretty impressive.
He makes one or two throws a game that are really good where you go, wow, that was a good throw. The other ones, I mean, they were standard passes. One of them, he basically just threw it up there and his wide receiver just ran under it. It just so happened that the cornerback was,
6 yards behind.
Away.
Right. And so that's the other problem with Missouri's offense is where's the wide receiver that does that to a defense? They don't have one. They don't have one.
They don't have one this year.
They might have one next year. And look,
they're going to have to hope he's the guy.
Right. That's the key. I was going to say you have to hope because I've seen Luther and he looks special now, but it's high school. Right? So it's got to translate. So let me real quick, you said the other thing, you'd open it up in the bowl game. Let me say this. Tyler Beatty deserves if he plays the bowl game, which I'm not sure if he will, but I think he might, he deserves every single carry he wants. If he comes to Eli Drinkwitz and says, I want the ball on every play, that's what Missouri should do in the bowl game. They owe him that for this year. I firmly believe that. Tyler Beatty gets every single snap he can take in the bowl game. Now, I think in the fourth quarter tonight it was pretty clear. The only thing they were focused on was getting Tyler that record, and I think that's great. I have no problem with that. But I think if he tells you he's going to play the bowl game, then I don't think another running back takes a snap. I think he gets every single snap until he says, I want to come out.
Yeah, I get that. But, I mean, the thing about it is Drink can't just look at for the bowl game or Owen. Like, Tyler Beatty's already got the record. So, going forward, Drink's job and Drink's responsibility is building towards next year.
But you do that
Tyler
more
and be a part of that.
To me, with Elijah Young or B.J. Harris or whoever it is, you do that more in spring football than you do in 10 carries against, I don't know, whatever middle-of-the-road ACC team or non-Power 5 team they'll play.
Well, and that's why I'm saying you give them more. You got to find out what you got in these guys because they don't know what they have at all at backup running back right now.
No, that's fair.
And I would much rather than try to have some sort of knowledge going into spring ball rather than, hey, spring ball, okay, you know, it looks good sort of against our defense, but then you get in the fall camp, and then we don't know what we have, you know, next fall.
Fair points, man. And I'm not sure if there's a right answer, but he's got some tough decisions in the next month, no question.
He does, Gabe, and I appreciate it, man. Thanks for this. You have a, you know, great rest of your night.
Appreciate it, Justin. Thanks, man. Thanks for being with us all year long. Let's go now to the 417 area code. Who's on the phone?
Hey, Gabe, it's Stuart down in Springfield, Missouri. How are you, sir?
What's up, Stuart? How are you, man?
Yeah, man, what a tough year, right? 6-6 couldn't be more ugly, but that's how we got there. But big props to Tyler Beatty. I mean, we saw him his freshman year against Purdue and that last drive that won us the game down there, or up there, if you will. But just a tremendous season by him. I want to propose a question to you. Let's just say that however it happens, you know, the quarterback room gets shuffled and you know, everybody transfers out except for, you know, Macon and God hope that Horn is the best player in the history of college football. What transfer quarterback have you? There seems to be a name that I can't think of his name, but there seems to be a couple of transfer quarterbacks out there, and we've done this, and it wasn't very good. But do you know of any transfer quarterbacks that we would even attempt to go and get for next year?
Yeah, I don't really yet. I think that'll more shake out, you know, over the next 2 to 3 weeks after seasons end and semesters end and stuff. So there's nobody out there that I know is on the market. And this is where, like, we're getting ahead of ourselves, because I'm sure Eli Drinkwitz has a better feeling for, you know, who's coming, who's going, all that than I do, or than you do. I hope he does. If he doesn't, that's an issue. But, you know, so yeah. I think he probably has a little more idea. And I'm not going to rule out the idea that they end up needing a transfer quarterback. You know, I mean, a lot of people think Spencer Rattler is leaving Oklahoma. That's all well and good. I don't really think Missouri's going to be the place that he would end up. There's a guy leaving LSU, I think, Miles Brennan. There will be some others. And could Missouri be in that market? Certainly. I think if two guys transfer out, if Bazelak even transfers out, I think you have to be in that market. But, you know, I think there's a little too much unknown to start quite going down that path until we do get a little clarity.
I feel you there. You know, long season and then a quick season, then a long day today.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything you do, especially the post game. It's so deflating that, you know, the game ends and then that's it. But this year you stepped it up, and I know myself, I really appreciate at least being able to continue to talk even after the game's over. We got 15 practices. Let's go play in whatever bowl game we got, and good luck tonight, man. I hope we can pull out a victory at Wichita.
All right, sounds good,
Gabe.
Stuart. Thanks for being a part of it tonight and for being a part of it throughout the season. Appreciate everybody who is calling in. And again, if you want to call in, we're clear right now, 573-234-4935. I want to get back real quick to the point I was making about Tyler Beatty. So as far as individual seasons go, I think you kind of have to separate quarterbacks, right? Because quarterback is such a weird such a unique position. Like Chase Daniel's 2007 season is the best individual season in school history. I don't think there's really an argument against that. You know, even going way, way back to Paul Chrisman and stuff. I mean, Chase's 2007 season is kind of in a category of its own. And then you have some of the things Brad did and maybe Phil Bradley and things like that. But as far as non-quarterback goes, I've always said that Denario Alexander in 2009 is the greatest individual season in Missouri history. And I think I'd still say that, but Tyler Beatty is now in the discussion. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but let's go now to the line, 573 area code. Who's there?
Hey, Gabe.
What's going on? Who am I talking to?
Hey, this is Craig from Jeff City.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I am just curious. I haven't heard this storyline talked about much, but if you're Sean Robinson and you got benched after being terrible against Alabama and half a game against Tennessee, how do you look at this season with Bazelak and think, you benched me for that, but he gets to play it out? That's the first thing. And then the second thing, we just talked about transfers with that last caller, but do you have to go get a grad transfer so that Horn doesn't get a little scared, or do you go with best available quarterback transfer that would come to Mizzou if that was the possibility, or if that was the road they went down?
Yeah, no, I do think if you get a transfer quarterback, I think you got to go grad transfer because, I mean, if you get a kid who's a sophomore, Macon and Horn are looking and going, hold on, man, this is not what I signed up for, right? If you get a grad transfer, I think you can sell 1 year, but I think it's almost got to be a guy that has 1 year left because, I mean, Horn and Macon are the future of this thing one way or another, I think. So, you know, long term, beyond, if you need a bridge to get to them next year, then you do that. But I think long term, those have to be your guys. Ultimately, whether he succeeds here or not is going to depend largely on did he evaluate well on Tyler Macon and or Sam Horn, not can he go get a transfer Band-Aid. That's the right guy. As far as the Sean Robinson thing, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. I would say that, I mean, Sean is one of the most positive kids I've ever been around. He seems to be a great teammate, not a guy that probably looks at it that way. I think he's grateful he found a position he can get on the field. He's already said he's coming back next year. So I do understand the question, and it's kind of interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I really don't think that's an issue with Sean.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was just thinking he's poured out, you know, his heart, switching to defense, even getting injured, throwing himself in there, but just an interesting angle. So I appreciate the time, appreciate what you're doing, and yeah, shout out to Tyler Beatty, like everybody else is doing.
All right, Craig, I appreciate the call, man.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one. That's appreciate Craig and all you guys calling in there. Again, the phone lines are open if you want to call. But back to kind of Beatty versus Denario really now is, to me, the best individual season in school history. And I want to look up Tyler Beatty's like total offensive numbers because we talked about the running numbers, right? He has 1,604 rushing yards with a game still to go. Denario, I believe, had 1,781 receiving in 2009. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to the 832 area code. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Ryan. How are you, Gabe?
Not bad. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, couple things. Really just one thing. I've never noticed it during the season, and maybe just me being a novice fan, but they did bring it up quite a bit during the game today. The dependence to run to the outside, always to the left. And I know I believe that Delgado was injured, but was he the right guard that's injured? And that was just the reason why they're going to the left, or did you have any insight on that?
Honestly, I have a hard time keeping track, especially because Case Cook was hurt. I think he started the season as the right guard and Delgado was the left guard, but they've shuffled so many guys in and out of there. Honestly, I'm not sure. It's an interesting point, and PFF does keep track of like rushing direction, so that might be something I look up for like my Monday column and see, you know, how much more they ran to the left and if they were more successful and stuff like that. I don't truly know off the top of my head, and it hasn't necessarily stuck out, but it was also interesting today. I noticed in the first quarter, both the holding calls were on the left tackle, you know, so I don't know if that's a thing. But, yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like it seemed like they're, you know, kept forcing to the left. Yet that's where the holdings had really just kind of crippled a couple drives there for us. So yeah, I thought it was just very interesting on that one. I mean, knowing who's coming back, the offensive line next year, do you see it being much of a difference in what it is right now?
Yeah, I mean, I was encouraged that I think it was the South Carolina game, EJ and Doma Ogar played a bunch. So he's now got some experience. You've seen Bobby Lawrence out there a little bit. I mean, I think it's kind of rare for a guy in, his fourth year all of a sudden to take a leap, but maybe he's a guy that can give you a little something next year. I think Connor Tollison's probably going to be the starting center for Maietti, so that's a change, So I think there are going to be some new bodies in there. I wouldn't count on the true freshmen, but I also wouldn't rule out maybe a transfer offensive lineman to kind of help overhaul that, because like the line, if Tyler Beatty had the year he had, the line can't be bad, but there was also a lot of times I felt like it wasn't very good this year, which I know sounds weird, but I do think it needs to be upgraded.
Absolutely. It seemed like there was a few times Beatty definitely, just for the phenomenal player he is, really kind of saved the line there, right?
It kind of did it on his own a
individual
lot.
performances on his part.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Gabe, appreciate these. Always fun to listen to. Have a good one.
All right, Ryan. Appreciate the call, man. Thanks for being a part of it tonight. And I keep, this is a disjointed point I keep trying to make, because we keep getting calls, which is great. The calls are better. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't call in. Call in. Eventually, I will get these numbers compared. But Tyler Beatty, 268 carries for 1,604 yards this season. You had 335 receiving. Let me check if he had any receiving. He had -5 yards receiving tonight. So 330 yards receiving gives you 1934 from scrimmage and 18 touchdowns. So keep those numbers in your mind while we get to the 636 area code. Who's there?
Hey, Gabe, what's up? This is Josh.
What's up, Josh? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Hope you are as well, and hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same.
Last time I called in, I believe it was after the last game that they lost, which I forget off the top of my head
Georgia.
which one that was.
Yeah.
Yes, and I complained about the play calling a little bit, and you kind of talked me out of it. It was like, well, play calling is kind of a buzzword that we like to use,
right,
when things aren't going well. And those play calls, if they end up being successful, then we like them. When if they weren't successful, then we say the play calling was terrible. But today, I don't know if I can quite be talked out of it, because to me, besides Bazelak, which I'll have a comment on him too, just like everyone else, but to me, that was one of the biggest reasons they lost today. I just was not a fan of a lot of the play calls. I'm stumbling a little bit with my word. But there was an instance where it was 4th and 1 at the beginning of the game. I believe it was their first offensive drive. They don't go for it. Okay, understandable. But then later on, when Arkansas had already taken the lead, and it's 4th and 5, and they're right at about midfield or so, then they decide. Sense to me. And I understand these receivers aren't, they're not great athletes. They don't get a ton of separation. But Chisholm and Dove, those are guys that are bigger targets, and they really they're good on the contested catches. And, where you like to use that ability is on routes like slants and things of that nature. And I don't know if I saw a single slant thrown today. I thought they got a little too cute at times. And I know it's hard to run the plays that maybe you want to run when you just have subpar talent, but I saw a lot of play calls today that I just was not a fan of. I mean, you ran Connor Bazelak on a QB draw a couple times, and I mean, to me, talk about not knowing your team. I just don't know why you would run a draw with Bazelak, given what we've seen with him this year, his lack of mobility.
Yeah, running him almost seemed to me like Drinkwitz and Bazelak making a point, like, see, we can do this. Don't say we can't do this. We can do it. I mean, they can't because they didn't. But so I'm going to agree and disagree with what you said, Josh. So which one do you want me to do first?
Up to you. We'll get the disagree out of the way.
Okay, so the disagreement I would have is on the first series of the game, Dominic Lovett is open deep, and it didn't work, but it did get 15 yards. And on that same series, Boo Smith is open for, what is a touchdown. I mean, it just is. On 97% of the time, that's a touchdown. If that play is made, how much different, does it open things up? You're up 7-0 now. I'm not saying Missouri wins if that play is hit. I'm just saying it kind of changes some things. And we're talking about a coach who schemed up 2 potential touchdowns in the first 4 plays from scrimmage, and his team didn't execute it. Right. So that's one instance. Now, where I'll agree with you, I told Mitchell 40 in the middle of the second quarter, I texted him, I said, the third down play calling has been bizarre to me. Because, like, if you're in 3rd and 2 and you know you're punting, if you don't get it, then why is the play of downfield pass? If you're punting and you don't get it, then run the ball. Now, if you're in 3rd and 5 and you know you're going for it, then why aren't you running to make it 4th and 2? It seemed very. Some of the third down play calls I didn't think set up the 4th down decisions very well at all. But also, I've never watched a football game that I couldn't pick out 4 or 5 plays where I said, well, I don't think that was the right thing there, so I don't want to harp on it too much, but yes, there were some instances. I think the bigger issue is simply that I don't know what plays you call when you literally can't pass. Like when you can't protect the quarterback, and when you protect him, he's not accurate, and when he's accurate, nobody's open. I mean, other than hand the ball to Tyler Beatty, I don't know what plays to call with this offense as it's currently constituted.
Well, yeah, and at the end of the day, and that goes into my next point, that's on the coach too, because you kind of touched on it earlier, but you didn't say it the way I'm about to put it. When you have a quarterback that over and over again has shown you he's pretty much incapable, and you keep putting him out there, it's on you.
Oh, yeah.
It's not on that quarterback.
Yep. And
and then
it's very easy to say, that Brady Cook would have been better or that Tyler Macon would have been better. We don't know that. There's no way to prove that. But also, it can't be disproven. And so we're just sitting here going, well, I know this guy was really bad, so why not take a shot with another guy? And today was, there were times earlier in the year, I would have done it in the Tennessee game. I would have given somebody else a look. I would have given somebody else a look in the A&M game. And today was the worst, though. Today was just, it almost seemed, it almost seemed unfair to Connor Bazelak to keep putting him out there.
Yeah, and there was a point in the game, I don't know if you listened to the broadcast a ton from this game, but they were saying every single time Bazelak was out there, they were saying exactly what all Mizzou fans were thinking. And there was even at one point where one of the other commentators said, their quarterback, he has trouble running the ball. And then Aaron Murray goes, he has trouble throwing it too.
Yeah.
And you talked about how Cook and Macon, we don't know if they can be better. But I feel like, with today, what was it, 60 passing yards, 10 for 24 or something like that? Yeah. I feel like the floor for them is Connor Bazelak, what he was today.
Yeah, and, sometimes you just got to do something different just for the sake of being different, right? Maybe it doesn't work, but what you were doing wasn't going to work. It became pretty clear early in once that game was 24-6, that thing was over. They weren't winning that game, and so I agree. This is at least the third game. Look, I would have made a switch. Sometimes people take it as me defending Bazelak, and that's not really it. I'm just trying to kind of explain what the rationale might be. I'll be honest, I don't know what the rationale was today. It reached a point where it just seemed not only unfair to Cook and or Macon, but kind of unfair to Connor.
Yeah, and we kind of actually touched on that the last time I called in. Quarterback is the only position change you can make in football that can really change the mindset of an entire team and really rejuvenate things, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's an aspect that maybe should have been considered a little bit more, because I also felt like their body language was a little bit off today with Connor, with a lot of the offense. I don't really think that. I think, and I don't want to I'm not saying this as a matter of fact because you don't want to put words into kids' mouths, but I almost feel like that other players are starting to go, man, when are we going to see something different? And I also, this will be kind of my last thought for you. And I don't think you're not in the press box for games this year, right?
No, I'm watching on TV this year.
But Mitchell's there?
He was at the home games. The road games he was not, because post game's all on Zoom.
Okay, so he might have seen enough to maybe answer this question a little bit better than you, because the camera caught it a few times today too. And look, maybe this is just me coming up with something just based on what I've seen on the broadcast. But it almost seems like that Drink coddles Connor Bazelak more than I've seen of any coach and quarterback combination. Like, hey man, you got this. Like stuff that you'd be saying to a little league quarterback, and maybe I'm just coming up with stuff like I said based on what I saw, but there just seems to be a blind allegiance towards them.
Yeah, I mean, as far as coddling, like, look, I think the biggest thing you have to do when you're a coach is you can't treat every kid the same. Like, you've got to understand the kids who can take screaming and yelling and cursing at them, and the kids who don't respond to that, right? So maybe the way Connor responds is to, kind of positive reinforcement. Maybe that's, and also, again, hey, there aren't cameras at practice every Tuesday and Wednesday. Who has any idea, really? Yeah. But, I won't fault Drinkwitz necessarily for that part of it, because maybe that's what he needs to do to get what he can get out of Connor. But, Josh, appreciate the call, man, and appreciate you being part of the show all year long.
Thanks, Gabe, and thanks for doing the show.
All right, we'll talk to you. We're going to go to the 314 area code. We got a couple of you, so if your number ends in 23, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Gabe. How's it going? This is Jeff from St. Charles.
What's up, Jeff? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. My first time calling your show, but I've been watching it for a few weeks here. I just wanted to say I kind of want to meet the two factions of pro-drink and anti-drink as a play caller. I kind of want to meet both of them halfway, because we've got the side that says this guy was all hype, he's not a good play caller, okay? And then we've got the side that says, well, he needs a couple more years. Once he has all the players, then he'll prove you wrong. What I feel is that neither side is truly correct. We don't know that Drinkwitz is a guru and a super stud genius offensive player.
Correct.
Offensive coordinator. We know that he's aspiring to be that. We know that he is the trickery and the have a really, really thick playbook. We know that he's that type of an offensive coordinator, and that's what he wants to be. We have no clue if he is good at it yet. So, no one's totally wrong.
Right.
Drinkwitz is in the infancy of his career. The infancy of his head coaching career. So we're kind of in a situation where we're going to be firing around takes about a guy, and look, this guy hasn't even become what he's going to be yet. So this is what it's like to be trying to climb Mount Everest as a lower rung, middling program, at least that's how we've been the last 5 years. And then not only are we trying to climb that mountain, but we're trying to do it while playing against Georgia and Alabama.
Right.
So it's going to be Alabama a lot more in a couple of years. We all know why that is. So I think that we've got to say, okay, yes, he doesn't have a full roster of NFL/SEC players. So you can't say that the offensive coaching is poor yet. But you know what else you can't say? You can't say, hey, hang on, everything's going to be great, because he's a good coach, and you just wait. No, he was a good coach in the FCS or whatever level he was at when he wasn't the head coach. But now he's the head coach. Oh, and he's the head coach in the SEC. And we ain't seen nothing out of the guy yet, play call-wise. We see him trying to be that guy. Now, once we get the players in next year and the year after, then we'll find out which is it. Was it the player lack of players? Or does this guy now have the good players and at least of a representative top 25 level, even if we're not going to get to the Georgia-Alabama level? I think we're headed to a top 25 roster in the next 2 to 3 years. In the next 2 years.
Go ahead.
It's like neither side can really claim what their claim is. Neither side can. So I'm not saying that either side, hey, you're just impatient, you're wrong. You're just not right or wrong yet. Right. And Drinkwitz may end up being an all-hype guy who belongs as an assistant or a coordinator and as a chief recruiter and a highly paid assistant. Or is he going to have the type of pragmatic type B, a little bit of type B, where he steps back, he sees that something is not quite as good as he thought he was going to be at it? Does he become a guy who wants to be the umbrella head coach and now he's going to hire an offensive coordinator to run his system, but to run it with all focus on one job versus you're in charge of the whole staff. So I think it's going to be great. We're going to get to find out. We're going to get to find out if he's a good coach, because you know what? He's going to have SEC players next year, and he's really going to have them next year. So everybody just hang on. You might be right. I don't know. I'm not saying Drink's good. I'm saying I want to find out what happens when he actually has a quarterback that is performing at any level at all, which we didn't even have quarterbacking at all this season, basically.
Right.
And then we have a Randy Moss type guy when Luther Burden's in there next year. So things can change quickly when you take those two weaknesses out, and you don't just replace them, but you replace them with either Sam Horn or Tyler Macon, and you replace them with the next Randy Moss. So everybody's going to find out if he's good or not next year, the next year after that. And it'll be painful if he's not good, but if he is, holy smokes, we're going to be on our way because the players are all there, baby. All right, go Mizzou.
Jeff, I was with you all the way until I was with you all the way until you made Luther Burden the next Randy Moss without having played a down of college football. So here's what I was going to like.
Can I couch that?
Yes.
I mean, in college football, he's going to look like Randy Moss.
He might.
In college football, he will.
He might.
If he gets the quarterback.
I mean, Randy Moss probably should have won the Heisman Trophy in college at Marshall. So let me just say, though, I mean, here's my point, right? If Luther Burden is that level of a talent, and if Sam Horn is like an all-SEC level quarterback, then Eli Drinkwitz is going to look like an amazing play caller. And if Sam Horn is not that, and if Luther Burden... Go ahead.
We just need decent quarterbacking. That's all we need.
But
we had extremely subpar quarterbacking.
I agree. But my point is, if you get decent quarterbacking and decent receivers, then you're going to have a decent. My point is, it's much more the great play call. I don't believe in a guy being a great play caller versus a terrible play caller in general. I understand there are levels of it, right? But in general, I think the great play callers are generally great play callers because they have great players. I mean, I couldn't tell you who the offensive coordinator on the 2010 Auburn team was, but he was incredible. You know why? Because his quarterback had the greatest season in college football history, and I don't think it was the play calls. I think it was the fact that was Cam Newton. So I think rather than breaking down, I mean, it's mostly going to be about what the talent is.
It is mostly. But I will tell you this, that, there's a guy up in New England named Josh McDaniels, and he had a great player on his entire 11-team roster for the vast majority of his career up there. So it can be done. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
also,
you can have average players and end up having a very successful offense because the coach just really is one step ahead of all the other good coaches.
That's true.
Those are one-in-a-generation coaches. So in general, I can't even disagree with what you said. But it can happen if you find the Andy Reid or the Mike Marks or the whoever you want to name. But I just think that our quarterbacking people have not really sat back and rewatched. Not bad. This quarterbacking has been almost as poor as our defense was the first half of the season. That is just how bad our quarterbacking has been. He threw for 60-something yards today.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. We're gonna
so many levels between what we have and amazing or all SEC that if we just jump up into one of those quarterbacking levels, then you have the great players around that quarterback. You just need a decent quarterback if you have an O-line. And we have Cooper.
Here's where
I love it. We have Burton. We have a lot of receivers, not just one.
Jeff, here's where you and I disagree. I don't know that they have any of those great players on this roster. Mookie Cooper did nothing this year. Dominic Lovett did nothing this year. J.J. Hester did nothing. Those guys, not only did they not produce, they lost snaps throughout the season. Their lack of production wasn't because of the quarterback. They weren't even on the field most of the second half of the season. So, right now, it is all hope on Drinkwitz, but it's all hope based on rival stars. If these players are what rivals said they are, and if he's evaluated right, he's going to be really good. But if he hasn't evaluated right, and if Rivals has missed, and let's be honest, right now, there's no proof he's evaluated right. Because right now, the best offensive player he has and the only offensive player he has is a 2-star that was recruited by Barry Odom. That's the facts.
Yeah. Now, the receivers, I have no answer for you on Lovett. I have no answer on that one. I'm not going to fight you on him. But Mookie Cooper was not healthy in very key parts of the season. And the other part of this is, our quarterback was missing people, and he was throwing interceptions, and they're throwing these running play passes. And so, he sold out on Beatty because he had an ineffective quarterback. So if we have an effective quarterback, then either nothing will change because you're right about our receivers, or it'll be like, holy smokes, where was this? It's just like when the wrong quarterback's in and then the right quarterback comes in. And it just things change when the quarterback comes in. We never got to see this.
Yeah,
we never got to see him bench the quarterback when they needed to, and to see what now next year. I would hope it's not going to be Bazelak unless Bazelak snaps out of his whatever he's been in for a year. And it can change quickly with that position change. Things can go really, really different.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, and looking forward to the rest of the show.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks a lot for being a part of it, man. And look, Jeff brings up some good points. There's a lot of blind faith, and if Drinkwitz is as good a recruiter as Rival says he is right now, you're going to be really happy. But he needs to be, because he's not just going to scheme average talent to SEC titles. Let's stay in the 314 area code if your number ends in 26.
Hey, yeah, this is Tyler. First off, I think that guy was trying to audition to be your co-host.
I need a co-host, man. My throat's sore.
Anyway, so first off, I got to start off with respect for Beatty. I mean, amazing season. I think, one thing, if you want to have a little optimism and you're wondering, hey, where are the playmakers, right, on this offense? It could be guys that didn't play as much, and Beatty is kind of proof that year 3, year 4, right, you can make significant jumps. Now, we did see some flashes from him year 1, but, maybe there's some optimism there. My question to you is, I think the frustrating thing about FaZe and outpouring him is, this team really was in it. I mean, this was a chance to win the game today. This wasn't just like, Arkansas was up, 3 touchdowns and we were never in it. I mean, in the third quarter, we had a chance to win it in the halftime. Defense was playing well enough. Beatty had 100 yards in the first half. And my question is, there's a period in the third quarter where you could tell Beatty got gassed, which is totally understandable because he's just the only thing we have. And what I don't get is, okay, if Drink is committed to not benching Bazelak, why at least don't you just still have a package with Cook or Macon for that time period when you need to get Beatty a rest and say, hey, we're going to put Macon and Cook. We're going to do some wildcat, some different stuff. We're going to have Cox, Elijah Young. And, guys, you guys practice these 6 plays. And if we need you to go in the third quarter to be like our break, you're going to do it. You're going to try and run down. And I just don't get why we never seem to get that, because you weren't going to trust Bazelak to throw the ball really or to make the plays. And so I think that was the frustrating part, because we did have a chance to win this game too.
Yeah, all fair. And look, I don't disagree with any of it. And I've got to be clear. This is at least the third game and maybe more where I've said I would have made a quarterback change. So I'm on your guys' side. And again, I think it comes back to 2 options. And one of them is really bad for you guys. And that is, he really is, even the way he's playing, the best quarterback on this team. And if that's the case, I'm sorry, guys, this ain't going to work long term. I mean, it just isn't. Not unless Sam Horn comes in and is just unbelievable by the time he's at latest year 2, right? Because let's be honest, that quarterback play today, if that's what you get next year, you're going to be 3-9. And if you're 3-9, you're going into year 4 on the hot seat, in some trouble, no question. So that's option 1, is that Drinkwitz is right that this is the best guy he has. Option 2 is some combination of Drinkwitz is wrong or stubborn or not really playing for this year. I guess that's the other option because it's all I can come up with, and I don't know what it is, right? I want to be clear. I don't know what Eli has even said post game. Like Mitchell's on the Zoom call with him. Whatever he said, he said. So I think he deserves a chance to explain himself. And to
so he said two things so far. He said one, the reason he got asked by Dave why he didn't take him out like after the interception, and he said he doesn't want his quarterbacks thinking that if they make one mistake that they're going to yank, which again is outrageous. Thinking that that was Bazelak's first mistake, right? And then he also got asked about Brady Cook, and he said I felt like I needed Cook to go in to see if he could do something for us and I needed to make a change, which makes even less sense.
I mean, it was 34-9, right? Cook didn't go in until the last series, right?
Yeah, the very last series.
Yeah.
But he said he felt like he needed to see what Cook could do, and he felt he needed to make a change, which, I don't know, makes less sense now to me. But,
literally all Cook did, I think, was hand off. I don't think he threw a pass, did he?
He did not. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm not going to hold Eli to the fire, but that's just not true.
But that drive right there, right? Cook doesn't. Why not do that in the third quarter again to give Beatty a rest too? Because that was the thing. You needed Beatty to try. You're going to have him in, right? And so that was the only thing. And anyway, I'll hang up and thanks for all the work, Beatty. Amazing year, awesome. All props and credit there.
All right, Tyler, I appreciate it, and I'll be honest. I thought in the middle of the third quarter that game became about getting Tyler Beatty the rushing record, and I don't really have a problem with that. I appreciate that he did it, but once it was 24-6, that's kind of what that game was about, I think. Let's go back, 314 area code. You still here with me? 314, are you on the line?
This is,
yeah.
Yes. Hey, Gabe. Hey, thanks for doing this. Hey, sorry to beat a dead horse, but and I know the offensive struggles are not all on Connor, but my question, you guys have written about that Eli really thinks, keeps playing Connor because, that gives him that gives Missouri the best chance to win. My question is has he ever expressed or has he really ever been pressed on, what Connor does that's specifically better than the backup? Does he have better arm strength, better accuracy, better deep ball, better decision-making, better game plan? Like, what is it that he believes really gives them specifically a better advantage that the backups can't do?
It's a fair question, and I understand what you're asking, but, from my position, if we're sitting in a press conference and we've asked, hey, why is Bazelak the quarterback? Did you think about going to anybody else? And he says, I kept playing Connor because I thought he gave us the best chance to win. I mean, if we say, but how specifically, what does he do that gives you that chance? He's going to say, well, I think he's the best quarterback. I mean, I think he plays the best. I don't know. I mean, obviously he can't run right now, and really, honestly, has not since the knee injury shown an ability to run. So, I mean, he thinks the combination of everything, he thinks he's the best quarterback on the team. Now, does he think there are certain things Cook can do better, certain things Macon can do better? Probably, and I could try to get a little more insight into that. I'm just not sure how to really ask the question to get that insight, because, again, if you say, but why do you think he's the best quarterback? He's going to say, because I see practice. What about him? Well, I think he's the best combination of running and throwing. I mean, I'm not sure there's an answer that we can get that really offers those specifics because I mean, I think it's just like when you say he's the best chance to win, that means you think he's the best whole package of a quarterback. And again, if he's right, that's probably even scarier than if he's wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that it's hard to get that specific question out of him. It's just, when you look at, what he can do, it just, and granted, he's injured and he's probably not getting a lot of help, on the offensive side, from Beatty, but it just doesn't seem like right now he's capable of doing very much, except he probably knows the offense by far better than any other the quarterbacks who kind of can run the full play set, which I know some of the
and that may be a factor, but
may not be at
also
that point yet.
Yeah, also this is the end of Brady Cook's second year here. He should know the offense. Tyler Macon, hey, he hadn't been here as long. He didn't play football last year. Okay. But Brady Cook, I feel like, knows the offense, But it's and I want to be clear, like, I'm not trying to dodge asking a tough question to the coach because we've asked him what I feel are tough questions. I just don't, like, I don't know. I think we all see the issue and we all are watching this and going, is that really the best option you have? And he keeps saying it's the best option we have. So you just kind of have to believe him. And again, the only two solutions to this are he's wrong and he's been playing the wrong guy, which whatever, coaches do that sometimes, right? Or I think the worst option is that he's right. And the two guys he's got on the bench actually wouldn't even be this good. Now, the fan base, I think, would like to see proof of that, but it seems fairly obvious at this point we're not going to see proof of it.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Well, appreciate your time today, and thanks for doing everything.
Yeah, appreciate you being a part of it. Thanks for the call, and that does. We had a strong run of calls there. We are open again. If you guys want to call in, feel free to call in. I've got another 10, 15 minutes that I can do this before I'm going to have to wrap up and head over and cover basketball pretty soon. I do eventually want to finish this point I was making with Tyler Beatty and Denario Alexander. So Tyler Beatty had 1,934 yards from scrimmage, 18 total touchdowns on 321 touches. So that's around 6 yards a touch. With 18 touchdowns for Beatty. Now I want to go back and I want to find Denario's numbers from 2009 because I consider that, at least until this point, the best single individual offensive season by a Missouri player. Denario Alexander in 2009 in 13 games had 113 catches for 1,781 yards and 14 touchdowns. So he basically averaged 137 yards a game receiving. Tyler Beatty is averaging this year, 126 yards rushing, and then he's averaging another 28 yards receiving. So he's about 153 total yards. So Beatty's averaging a little more yards per game, but Denario averaged about 2.5 times as many yards per touch. Those, in my opinion, the two best individuals non-quarterback seasons in Missouri history. I'll write more about it on Monday. Let's go back to the phone line, the 314 area code. Who's there? You there?
Hello?
Hello, who am I talking to?
David.
What's up, David? How you doing, man?
Good.
What's on your mind?
I want to talk about next year.
Okay.
Actually, how the running game will look.
Can you do me a favor, and whatever device you're listening on, can you turn the volume down so I'm not getting the feedback? The running game next year, I don't think we have any idea because it was entirely Tyler Beatty
David?
this year.
Good. How are you?
David, I'm basically hearing this call all over again.
I'm interested in talking about the running game next year.
Yeah, David, I'm going to have to cut this off, man. You got to turn down what you're listening on. I appreciate it, but you're going to have to call back after you figure out the volume. But David was asking about the running game next year. And look, we have no clue, right? Tyler Beatty and his 1,600 yards are gone. The entirety of the rushing game. After that, Michael Cox, he had, he came into this game with 15 carries for 138. So he had 18 carries for 150 yards this year. Elijah Young had 24 for 87. B.J. Harris had 22 for 73. So we are talking about 64 carries for 310 yards and 3 touchdowns coming back next year, if you don't include the jet sweeps and all that. So I don't know, man. I don't have a clue what it's going to look like. This whole offense is going to look different. Like, there may not be more than about 4 starters back on this offense, to be honest. Okay, let's go to the 404 area code. Who's there?
Hey, it's your man Alan, man. How you doing?
Not bad. What's up, Alan? How are you?
All right. Well, you guys went very, very deep into Basilak, so I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to say one thing though, regarding the transfer, and Basilak is going to be there next year. In my opinion, for thinking that is, what film work or what is he going to offer another team that would incite someone to pick him up based off of this year's performance?
I mean, he could drop down a level. You know, he could go to a smaller school.
Yeah, okay. Let's just leave that there.
Yeah.
That's my thought. That's my thought on it. Secondly, I think the biggest thing that needs to happen is Drink needs to hire a play caller to save him from himself.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I agree.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Alan, you still with me, man?
This is David.
Okay, David, what's David, what's going on,
we
man?
We were talking about Mizzou running game.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it, David. Your volume on your computer or whatever is coming back into the show. It's basically replaying the whole show to us. I got to have you turn it down.
Yeah. I got you.
Okay, so the running game next year, look, the truth is we don't know, man. It's all gone this year. Like, Tyler Beatty was the entire running game. We don't know what B.J. Harris has, what Elijah Young has, what anything.
That's not necessarily what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was that there will be a different dynamic considering like the guys that we brought on board and some of the dudes that the transfers like Mookie Cooper and whatnot, that there might be a little bit more of like 30% of the game going to wide receivers in terms of handoffs.
Certainly possible. Yeah, I think this whole offense is going to look different next year. And I don't really think we have any idea what it's going to look like because I'm not even sure we know who's going to be out there in the backfield at quarterback. I think you're right. This whole thing could look different.
Yeah, absolutely. And considering, the background of Elijah Drinkwitz and the kind of plays that he likes to run, the dynamic of the whole thing, certainly something that seems possible to me.
Yeah, it could look completely different. I agree with you, David. And I mean, ultimately, time will tell, right? And, hey, I appreciate the call, man. I got 2 more callers, and I got about 8 minutes left. So I got to move on. But, David, I appreciate you being part of the show, man. Yeah. I think we're back to the 404 area code, back to Alan. I think you got cut off, man. What's up?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm driving back from the game out there.
You're good.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Yeah, I dropped off saying that he needs to get a play caller. And did you hear my reference to him with a Madden joystick in his hand?
No, I lost you before that.
Sometimes it seems like the game goes too slow for him to make the right play. I think his mind is moving too fast. He can't just slow it down and do the right play. That's why he's doing all these trick plays, because it's kind of like a kid with Madden. They do these Madden plays that you would never do in a game, but it's a video game, so it's just exciting to do it. And I think Drink, as smart as he is, and he might be a great play caller, I agree with the previous caller who said he's expiring. He's trying to be that, but he hasn't done it yet. And I think that the game, he doesn't. It's too boring for him to do some of the calls that will be the right calls. And I think he needs to give all of his plays to a play caller and let them call them at the appropriate times. An O coordinator is very much needed to save Drink's job, to be honest with you. And regarding the quarterback, I hope the recruit that comes in can help. Again, he's still a rookie, though. Sometimes we give people, try to give them the keys to the car a little too fast. I'm from the old school where the quarterback sat a year or 2 years before you gave him the whole car keys. But Basilak's bar is so low. I think Drink has put his integrity on the line by keeping him out there. And you said it earlier, I don't even think it was fair to Basilak for him to become this villain. And it's not that he is a villain, but, he's gotten extra booze that he shouldn't have got.
Agreed.
He shouldn't have been on the field.
I agree with that. I agree. Yeah.
He's still a young man, and you got to protect him from stuff like that. And he was playing horrible. Everybody knows he's been playing horrible. Why are you sending him out there to embarrass himself like that? And to me, I think that was a little overkill, and it's so disrespectful to Cook and to Macon. And any other. So I just want to say that about the old coordinator, which is my point. Get your thoughts on that. And then regarding the defense, as great as they played the second half, next year I would love to see us get more aggressive early instead of just trying to be more aggressive. I guess to set the tone to be. I'm missing. I didn't see how much Nick Bolton set the tone of the defense the year before. I didn't notice how much he was covering up until he left. As far as the aggression, the mentality. So I just wanted to leave that out there and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Alan, I appreciate it. I'd say, I think it took them 8 weeks to be able to do that, to be honest. They didn't have Bolton. They were learning a new scheme. I think they'll be better at the beginning of the year next year. Offensively, the play calling, I feel like, again, kind of the same discussion I had with the other guy. I think the best play callers tend to have better players. I don't think Drinkwitz has the talent, but I'm not saying he's a genius, but I think if he gets better players, he'll look like a better play caller. And if he doesn't, but I don't hate the idea of an offensive coordinator. Now, Drinkwitz could have an offensive coordinator and still call plays. I mean, Andy Reid calls a bunch of plays, but he's not the offensive coordinator. Eric Bieniemy is. He does a lot of the day-to-day stuff during the week. So I wouldn't hate that idea, but if that's the case, you're going to have to get rid of an assistant coach somewhere because his staff is built such that he's the offensive coordinator. So, Alan, I appreciate the call, man. I appreciate you being with me all season long. I got 2 more callers, and I got like 5 minutes left, so I got to let you roll, man. Appreciate it, Alan. Let's go. Again, I got 2 calls, guys. If you haven't gotten in, we'll get to you another time, but let's go to the 504 area code real quick. What's going on?
Hey, this is Ken. How you doing?
What's going on? How are you, man?
I'm good. This is Ken. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the season and everything. Basically, what I have to say is I agree with the call. I think Drinkwitz is a little bit over his head trying to worry about the offense. I think he's in the eye of the storm too much, and he's missing a lot that other head coaches could do. He can learn a lot from Sam Pittman as far as being a little more diplomatic with the entire squad.
Okay.
I think that he gets a little bit buried, and just like the Connor Bazelak thing, I think he's so invested in that I think it's stubborn to him. It's kind of coming off as being stubborn. He's so invested in Connor. It's not against Connor, but Drinkwitz is all his goodwill is teetering out with Mizzou Nation because we've been screaming from the beginning at the end of the second quarter. Put in Brady, put in Macon, somebody else, please give us a chance. Let's get a look at the future. If you're going to play with house, this game was really a game of house money. So it's okay because we could have just tinkered with it a little bit. I wouldn't mind. I think that we would have seen how far we could have went with the offense. But on defense, I think it's exciting that we ended, and as exciting as the D line looks, we're going to start all over getting linebackers again. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be a big question mark. But I feel good about what we return back on defense. I feel good about Steve Wilkes. I always felt good about Steve Wilkes. I never wanted to call for his head because his specialties, his expertise is in turnovers. And Missouri has, I don't know how much better in turnovers this year we are than last year.
Mm-hmm.
But early in the year when we were getting gassed in the run game, that was simply, I knew that had more to do with the D-line coach and how the techniques that we were playing. You could just look, we didn't have any push off the ball whatsoever. And I knew that the front seven was something that would build over time. But I never had any problem with Wilkes. I'm glad he's there. and I hope that they can build on next year. Now, last year, Dave, before I get out of here, you didn't have much faith in this squad being more than a 500 team. You thought this year was going to be a step back. Am I right?
I said I thought this year, a step back was possible. I said I thought 7-5 was the expectation. Less than that would be a little disappointing, but I did say I thought they lost talent from last year, and so I thought people were out over their skis with some of the expectations.
Right. Well, next year I think it's a clean slate, which is a good thing, and I just hope that Drink gives these guys from St. Louis, these quarterbacks from St. Louis. You can't talk about you want to recruit in St. Louis and you don't put the product out there. Cook or Macon would have been fine to at least appease what you're trying to build. You can't be counterproductive with what you're talking out in public. You know.
Yeah, you play the best player.
I think that a lot of people with Drink in this regard is like, hey man, you talk St. Louis, you got 2 St. Louis quarterbacks, let them see in the field when obviously they should have been playing 2 games ago.
Well, you play the best player. It doesn't matter where they're from. And look, again.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Again, maybe he's wrong, and maybe Basilak's not the best player, but you play the guy you think is the best player. I don't care where they're from. But, Ken, appreciate the call, man. I got one more I got to get to, and then I'm going to have to get out of here. So thanks for being a part of the show, man.
Hey, keep up the great work. I appreciate everything, Dave. You keep doing a good thing, and we need this. We need all the momentum we can get for the fans and the massive out here. Thanks a lot, Dave.
All right, appreciate it, Ken. Thanks a lot, man. All right, we got the 229 area code. Are you still with me? You're the last caller if you're here. All right, 229 area code gave up on me. I appreciate that, guys. Again, we're running up against basketball here, so I'm just going to thank you guys for the calls tonight. Thank you guys for the calls all season. This has been fun. I've liked doing this. We'll do it for the bowl game in all likelihood, and this is something we're going to continue next year in football season and all that, and we'll maybe have some call-in shows during the off season here and there, and kind of work this into the regular rotation. Once again, I want to thank Boulevard Brewing Company for being our partner all season long. They've been with us, and hey, you guys still got. It seems like Saturday night, but it's only Friday night. You got a long weekend of college football and pro football ahead of you. Go out, pick yourself up some Boulevard. They got beer, they got the Fling cocktails, they got Quirk seltzers. All very good. But this has worked mostly because you guys are here all the time, and you guys have kept this show going for, an hour and a half, 2 hours after every game. And hey, there's a lot of questions to be answered by Missouri over the next month and next 9 months till next season starts. But there is another game. We're going to have 10, 12 practices. We got a bowl game. Football season's not over, just the regular season. So thanks to all you guys who were here. Thanks to Boulevard, and we will check in from Mizzou Arena here in about 30 minutes. Mizzou and Wichita State. Stay tuned on the site for continuing coverage tonight from Mitchell 40. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.